This is the Cafe Racer Podcast, episode 100, part 2 for December 22nd, 2016. I'm Crash.
And I'm Steven.
Man, I have the hiccups and it's annoying the crap out of me. That is almost like perfectly timed.
Where do you get the hiccups? Were you swallowing a lot of air? What's going on?
I don't know. They just happened right before we started the show. Like when you said, "Hey, go start the room," I was like, "Okay." Like it was immediately hiccups. I don't know why.
That's funny.
It's really annoying.
That's
Anyway, so yeah, this is part 2 of episode 100. We had Jess on yesterday. She rode my motorcycle for the first time ever by herself, which was pretty cool.
So let me tell you what we're going to do for episode 100 here.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Because this is a milestone for us.
Yeah, it's taken us like 5 years to get here.
So I have in my hand right here a Nikon 52 millimeter lens cap.
Ooh.
That I will give to whoever writes an email.
That's like the lamest gift ever.
Because I don't own any Nikon cameras. I have no idea where this came from, but I will give whatever person emails me first and says they're going to claim this nice, really sweet. It still works too. It's one of the squeezy ones with a spring in it. 52 millimeter Nikon lens cap. It is yours to celebrate the 100th episode. And actually, we have some others.
Please tell me we have more than that.
We have one. Please tell me that. Yeah, no, we have more than that.
Okay, good.
52 millimeter lens cap. But again,
so okay. So I gotta say, I have to make this announcement. It's been like 2 months since I've done anything even remotely motorcycle related, and I got to ride a motorcycle today.
Yeah, I heard. And how was that? Was it fun?
It was. I got stuck in the sand like a dumbass.
So what were you riding, a Harley?
So, a guy that I work with has a 2015 Kawasaki KLR 650 in that gray digital camo that we saw at AIM, a couple years ago.
Right.
And I had commented to him like, "Hey, I'd really like to ride your KLR." And he's like, "Yeah, whenever, man. That's cool." So he came by yesterday or today, maybe, I don't know, and dropped off an extra set of keys to it. And was like, "Hey, man, whenever you want, like, just let me know so that I know that it's going to be gone." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm house sitting for a friend of mine as well, so I'm like going over there and checking the mail and all that sort of stuff." I was like, "Well, I'll go ride it over to his house and put his trash cans away and check his mail and all that sort of stuff." So I rode over there and it was fun, like the seat on that thing was super comfy. Like I felt like, man, I could really like eat up some miles on this thing, except for the fact that it gets kind of like uncomfortable at around 70 miles an hour. Got over there and then I was just putting around that side of Pensacola, and I saw this parking lot that had some sand and tire tracks going off into the woods, and I was like, "Oh, well, that should be fun." I'm on a KLR, so I just started like heading off that way, and I got like 20 feet in and was stuck up to the axle in sand, like an idiot. Like
every time you look up, your screen shakes really bad. This is hilarious.
That's really funny.
Florida, we were talking about this. Florida sugar sand's some nasty stuff, man.
I've heard you talk about it on the show before, and like it just didn't occur to me, that I need to like really haul ass when I hit the sand. And man, I was stuck. I had to like lay the bike on its side and drag it over to the vegetation where the sand was like solid,
right,
and kind of get on it and then like paddle out with my feet.
There's a section. There's a bicycle mountain bike area near me called Hal Patioki. It's got a section on the back side that's sand that we call the Baton Death March. I mean, it's just You can't get, it's so bad. And even getting off your bike and trying to walk it through there, it's really thick, deep Florida sugar sand. And when I did
Yeah, I was not like mentally prepared for this. A couple of years ago, I took a dirt bike course and they had like a sand wash area where, you had to like really just hammer it to get through it. And that was the point. The point of the exercise was to like really get on it and to feel that like having to steer with the rear end and all that sort of stuff. But I just didn't think about it when I got to this thing. I just saw a parking lot and tire tracks, and my brain said, "Oh yeah, that should be no problem." Freaking like 2 bike lengths in, I'm buried up to the axle in sand going, "I'm never gonna go anywhere. Fuck it. I'm gonna leave."
right. And then you like, well, how do once you get the bike out of it and you get it on top of this, like, how do I get going? And you
Yeah,
kind
like how do you start out?
yeah, you just
I'm
gotta
up to the axle in sand
gas.
as soon as the wheel starts rolling. So how do you get out of that? So I ended up like I said, like literally laying the bike on its side and dragging this like almost like 400 and some pound, like 650 dual sport over into the part of the grass or the part of the sand that had grass in it
Right.
so that I could ride out and paddling out with my feet like a moron.
Yeah, try that with a big 700-pound motorcycle when I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I texted my buddy Greg, whose bike it is, and he was like, "Hey, was it fun?" I was like, "Yeah, it was a ton of fun until I got stuck in the sand. And then everything on your bike is perfectly, safe
Covered
and
in sand.
sound. I just
Yeah.
feel like a moron because I got stuck and couldn't get anywhere. Like somebody even pulled over thinking they might help me, and then they saw me stand the bike up, and I think they figured I was okay and just drove away.
No, it's not fun, and if you like I was telling you before, if you've got the time for the polar bear rally in January, you're probably not gonna be able to do it because it's gonna
Yeah, probably not. I start rescue swimmer school in the very beginning of January, and that is going to be like no kidding hell for like
especially with
5
hiccups.
weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough with hiccups, man. I don't know how you're gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't either. I feel pretty good though. I ran 6 miles yesterday and I ran 6 miles the day before that and I can still walk, so
Right,
that's good.
right. How about swimming? You've been swimming?
Um I've been swimming except for like we started our little like holiday break period where
Mhm.
I don't show up at that schoolhouse anymore. I muster with a different group of people, and swimming is very difficult to get in. So I haven't swam in the last couple of days, but we were swimming almost every day in our little like hold thing.
Right, right. No, it's you'll be all right, man. Just stop hiccuping and you'll be
Mm.
fine. So this is the first time you've ridden a motorcycle in how long?
Probably 2 months, like two at least. No, a little over 2 months. Jessica rode my motorcycle yesterday, and her dad rode my motorcycle like a week ago. But before that, like my Bonneville was untouched for like a month and a half or 2 months almost.
Well, that's what's going on with the Guzzi right now. I haven't ridden that thing in a while, and I got to take it apart and I thought I figured out on two different occasions what was wrong with it,
Hmm.
the electrical issue that it was having. And man, I don't know. It's got to be. I think it's in the switch gear. Maybe it might be two different things. It might have something to do with the starter. Sometimes you can hear the starter engaging, like you can hear the thing, the Bendix going in, and
Yeah.
other times nothing. And when it's the nothing other time, if I spray some contact cleaner into the switch gear, it'll fire up. But
Huh.
I don't know. I got to take it apart. I've kind of gotten to the point where, because I haven't ridden it in a while,
Hmm.
and I want something different now. Like I'm thinking I might want either a Triumph. That new Bonneville, man, looks so cool. Or the new
I know
Thruxton.
the new Bonnevilles and the new Thruxtons look amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been really looking at those a lot. And so I don't know. I'm kind of kicking it around. I'm almost thinking like if I do get rid of it, I'm going to regret it. Because I was thinking about getting that and getting something new and maybe a dual sport bike, like
Hmm.
something used, or I don't know, even a new KTM 6 days. I really like those things, but they're god awful
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah, they're really nice looking.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm just gonna take it easy. The big bike that I've been riding, the KTM, which I know I've said this before. It's probably my favorite motorcycle I've ever owned. But the tires I have in it right now suck so bad.
Yeah.
I would never ever recommend these again to anyone. And I'm going to tell you what they are. They're Messler Karoo 3s.
Okay.
They're the loudest tires I've ever heard. They sing so loud. It sounds like a four-wheel drive truck driving by with loud.
Oh, so like you're driving down the road and you're like,
Yeah, I mean, it's a high-pitched loud sound, so it's
oh,
really
really?
annoying. And they feel like ice skates, man. They just are not confidence inspiring at all.
Mm.
And they've got large tread blocks on them, but I don't know if it's the compound or because of the gaps in the tread blocks and how large they are. And I never had this experience with TKC 80s. I felt fine with those once I got
Yeah.
this thing feels like it's walking when I'm in a corner, like it's walking
Oh
through the
man.
corner. So
TKC 80s are pretty aggressive tires too.
yeah, they feel completely different. They feel a lot better than these things do. And I didn't really notice it. Obviously, they're not road tires. You know what I mean? But I'm in a
Sure.
situation where there's just more road here. I changed the rear tire out when I was in Montana because that was the only thing that was available at the dealership. So when I got home, I put a front tire on so it was matching. And
Yeah.
because the TKC 80 I had on the front wore out
Yeah. So you put the Karoo on in Montana
in the rear.
and then, yeah, in the rear and rode the rest of the way up to Continental Divide. And now you've got a pair of Karoos on.
Right. And the majority of the riding I did after I put it on in Montana was off road. So I didn't really notice this as much.
Yeah. It probably felt good out there,
It
like
wasn't
that
bad.
big chunky
Right.
tread.
So I got down here and, I'm doing mostly street riding and it just feels
Yeah.
not good. So
Man, I miss Montana. I got to say, like, really bad. Like a couple people and I have been talking a few days, like a few days ago, and man, Montana was just probably the most beautiful part of my ride, like the most unexpected beautiful part of my ride when
right.
I did that like trip around the Northwest a few years ago. Montana was just like a slap in the face. I expected it to be almost boring and was just floored the whole
It's
time.
gorgeous out there. And it's so much nicer than there's such a difference between Montana and Wyoming as well. Wyoming's that Great Basin desert, which is
Absolutely.
boring. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
cool.
Wyoming is beautiful around the perimeter. And in the middle, it's just a basin, like it's a bowl. So, you're stuck in the bottom of the bowl. And if that's your thing, then cool. But it's not really my thing. So I did it like 95 across Montana until I could get to the other side. I mean, across Wyoming. And then I got to Montana. I was like, holy crap, this place is green and mountainous. And there's rivers and waterfalls and all this amazing crap that I don't have time to take pictures of.
No, and even Glacier was beautiful and there was really not a lot of people there, it wasn't crowded like Yellowstone was. And we went to
Yeah.
Polk
Yeah.
Mercantile, which was just absolutely incredible.
Did you
Yeah.
go through Yellowstone on the trip?
Yellowstone was our break day, and the idea was we were camping in Idaho, and we were going to go to
Uh-huh.
Yellowstone on the break day to go see Old Faithful, and it took us
Yeah.
3 hours to get 13 miles.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when I went through Yellowstone, it was almost like stop and go for a good portion of that
Yeah, we
like
stopped and
entrance
stopped.
into it's
Yeah,
like everybody and their brother was trying to go to Yellowstone. It's like I just want to ride. Like I
it's,
didn't
it's like Disney. That was
yeah.
really the disappointing part about it is you got to Old Faithful, and in my head I'm picturing this like geyser in the middle of this wilderness area with like some tour buses parked there and people standing around looking at it. No, there's like a hotel and there's a gift shop and there's a restaurant and there's this and there's that. And it's like,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Yeah,
where's Old Faithful? Oh, it's in the back behind the gift
yeah,
shop.
but when I went to Yellowstone, I didn't see Old Faithful, but there was a significant portion where I was like, man, I just showed up to ride because the roads looked good. I don't really care about all this touristy stuff. Like, I just want to ride. And on the way out of Yellowstone, I had that experience. There was nobody in front of me. I was just able to go. It was, I don't know, it was like summertime and there was still snow. It was beautiful.
I would say if you had to pick between the two, definitely go to Glacier
Glacier.
National. Yeah, because then there's
Yeah.
sections you can ride. We did some absolutely incredible off-road sections right outside the north side of the park.
Where
Pat
is Glacier?
Montana. It's in the northern part of Montana.
Like northern, like just north of Kalispell, right?
Yeah, well, it actually it's north of Kalispell and it kind of borders Eureka, so it's just the east of
Okay.
Eureka, and it runs into Canada. It's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I went up to I have a buddy of mine who lived I don't know if he still lives there, but he lived or near Missoula, Montana, and I spent the night with him and we went up to Kalispell. Um, it was beautiful. I
One thing
rode
about
his little
Kalispell, which was
250.
funny, Kalispell's got an international airport, right?
Yeah.
That's where I flew out of. Do you know that
Uh-huh.
there's not a single cab available in Kalispell? There's no
Really?
cab, no Uber, no Lyft, and
Uh-huh.
there was a cab company, and I called them, and they were like, "Well, I don't know. Well, yeah, we're gonna get somebody for you." And she calls me back like 25 minutes later and goes, "Yeah, our cab driver called in sick. We don't have anybody."
Our only cab driver.
Yeah,
So, okay, so I'm in Pensacola, Florida right now, and the restaurant that I ate at for lunch also does delivery and has a cab company that they run out of their restaurant.
really. They deliver
Yeah,
with the cab.
my buddy Greg and I were joking, like the guy that owns the KLR, like about showing up to the restaurant, ordering delivery to your room, and just having them give you a ride back to your room, like as part of the delivery, and see what they charge. Because they really do. They have a cab company. They also they have some kind of deal going with the tattoo shop next door, because there's tons of ads for the tattoo shop next door. And if you do their like challenge, like it's called like the Shark Attack challenge, it's this like gigantic burger amount of food thing. If you eat it in 45 minutes, then you get like a $35 gift card to the tattoo shop next door.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
like
typical. They probably, yeah, the cab company probably pick you up when you're drunk and takes you over to the tattoo parlor and
yeah, probably. They probably have a notary public in there, and I'm surprised they don't have a barbershop. Like the place has a super diverse menu. I actually ate there for lunch with Greg and then had them deliver me food for dinner because I didn't want to drive anywhere.
So Pensacola, if you don't know, Pensacola is like big time Air Navy, right? It's there's an Air
Oh
Navy
man,
station there,
I
and
I didn't realize how many places would be called Navy something or other or Blue Angel, whatever. Like, because this is where I knew that this is where all Navy pilots go to learn how to fly for the very first time.
Mhm.
But I've I've never seen a community so attached to the Navy.
Really?
Growing up, I grew up in Chesapeake, Virginia, and Norfolk, Virginia is notoriously like has like a love-hate relationship with the Navy. And then San Diego, Whidbey Island, Washington is a really small town, and there's like a small, like an even smaller little part that doesn't like the Navy, but for the most part, they're really supportive. But it's a small town, so I figured, whatever. San Diego, there's like half a billion people there. It's crazy. And so, the Navy is there in a large way, but at the same time, there's like a million other people, so it's not a big deal. Here in Pensacola, it's like the shopping centers are named after the Navy, the streets in the town are named after the Navy. The Blue Angels, like the Blue Angels name is on everything. Like there's grocery stores, there's like everything is Blue Angel Parkway, Blue Angel Grocery, Blue Angel Liquor Store, like everything. And it was really kind of strange. I was like surprised by how much like support there is for the military. Like everywhere gives a military discount. I'm like, wow, you guys actually like us. Weird.
Well, that's kind of what made that part of Florida really, and you got Holbert Field there too, where the 160th is. They're based out of there. There's not too far as Eglin Air Force Base. It's kind of
Mhm.
like you know
Okay,
what's
weird
going on.
story. I took a guy to the airport the other day that he's in rescue swimmer school with me.
Mhm.
He used to work as a civilian for the 160th, which for those of you that don't know, the 160th is the Army's Special Operations Air Group, like or Special Operations Air Regiment. So the helicopters that are sending in special operations like Army Rangers and Delta Force and whatever is almost always the 160th. And he used to work for them, and now he's going through this whole thing to become a rescue swimmer. And he taught water survival and helo dunker courses for the Army as a civilian. It's just a sort of like super strange thing where like he's actually been through a much more intense and immersive helo dunker course than the Navy is ever going to give anybody.
Yeah, there and there's also in this whole area of this part of northern Florida and the Panhandle where Panama City is just
Good old redneck Riviera.
yeah, redneck LA, Lower Alabama, they call it. Pensacola is almost on the border, you know,
Hmm.
and but
Yeah.
the Navy Experimental Dive Unit, Coastal Systems, all that stuff's in Panama City, which is just kind of east of Pensacola.
Right.
It's a pretty diverse area when it comes to the military there. There's Tyndall Air Force Base is there. It's kind of wild.
So, so I've been in the Navy for almost 11 years, and I have only ever worked at helicopter commands, and I had no idea that in Panama City there's an explosive ordnance disposal unit that has a couple helicopters at it. And as a rescue swimmer, when you're going through the course to learn how to be a rescue swimmer, you do jumps out of a helicopter into the water. And the EOD unit in Pensacola or in Panama City is the ones who fly the helos that you jump out of. I was like, wait, they have helos in Panama City? Like, yeah, there's like 3 of them there, and they're maintained by civilians. But when they have availability, they come fly out and we do helo jumps. I was like, huh, I had no idea there were even helicopters there. Like, it
The
never
Navy,
occurred to me.
the Navy Salvage Diving Training School is there too.
Right? Yeah, I had no
Yeah.
clue.
All the hard hat deep water divers all get trained in Pensacola in Panama City.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I said, that's pretty much a lot of military up there. I think there's also the what do they call those things? The big hovercrafts, you know, they have the
Oh,
LCAC.
the LCAC, the
Yeah, the LCACs are
Craft
based out of there somewhere. It's there's a lot going on up there. So, I think that's actually where Pensacola is where I bought the Moto Guzzi. There's a really cool dealer. You should stop into that dealership while you're there. I forgot
do
about
you,
that.
do you know the name of it?
Yeah, it's called um hold
I'm
on.
pretty sure I've seen a
Oh,
KTM dealer as I've been driving around Pensacola.
Guzzi. Here it is right here. I'll tell you what it is right here. It is, let's see. Well, there's Coastal Power Sports, Big Rooster Cycles. You know what? It might.
The area around the base is definitely like interesting. Um, I grew up in kind of the South. You know, I grew up in Virginia, which yeah, it's the South, but not like deep South. And then I moved to Washington and then to San Diego, and I've been in San Diego long enough to become kind of accustomed to what San Diego is like. And then I came here, and I forgot what the South is like. Like there's just like an aesthetic. There's a look to the South that I had completely forgotten. Um, and sort of like an attitude that I was not expecting. And then everybody drives like very, very slow here. It's disconcerting. It's
Yeah,
hard.
it is different, you know, and especially up in the Panhandle, it's completely different than South Florida.
Yeah, I'm used to like in California, you know, the speed limits on all the freeways are 65 and everybody goes 80. Here, there's only one freeway for one, which is a big difference. And the speed limit is 55 and half the people go 45.
Right. Well,
I'm
that's
just like slamming my head against my steering wheel, like, oh my gosh, just kill me now. I can't get anywhere in any kind of reasonable amount of time.
no, but and then you come down here to Miami, like south of me, and it's either people are riding like 30 because last week they had a push cart in some third world country, or
Yeah.
they're going 105, you know, or they stop in the middle of 8 lanes of I-95 in Miami to just get out of their truck, you know, or their car.
Yeah. So Adventure Motorsports of Northwest Florida is the place I should be going to check out.
Yeah, when I went, he owns, the guy that owns it's a really cool guy, and he collects old BMW motorcycles, and he
All
owns
right.
the Harley Davidson dealership too. But when I was there, they were in a really small little shop, and it was Moto Guzzi, BMW, and I think Triumph.
I'll
And
take a look. I mean, I've got like almost nothing to do for the next couple of
yeah,
weeks.
you should definitely go there. The guys, it's, you know, check in and tell them. I'll send you the name of the sales manager. He's still maybe there. So now they're Slingshot, BMW, Moto Guzzi, Ural, Modus Indian, and a brand that I'm not genuine. What the hell is that? Oh, they're scooters.
So, oh yeah, like the Stella.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The genuine Stella is like a carbon copy of an old Vespa.
I've seen the Stella. It's actually pretty cool. I saw a
Yeah.
red one at the gentleman.
There's somebody on base that has a slingshot that I see parked over by the galley pretty regularly.
I've actually, I want to try one of those. You know, when I first saw it, I was like, but the thing's got a low center of gravity. They're supposed to be really fun to ride, so I'm going to try one. But yeah, go check these guys out, and then check the Harley Davidson dealership across the street is supposed to be really nice. That's Harley Davidson of Pensacola. I totally forgot you were there because this is.
I don't know. There's a guy that I'm friends with, so we graduated the like basic air crew school together. That he's still here, and he's looking at going to. He found an Iron 883 on Craigslist, I think. And so he's going to go look at that, possibly buy it, or thinking about buying it.
Yeah, they got a bunch of rentals too out of there. The Harley do. So if I come up, I'm gonna rent a bike from these guys.
Yeah, that would be cool. If for some reason you're able to come up, we might be able to finagle 2 motorcycles without having to pay for a rental, because I have 2 friends here that each have a motorcycle. So we might end up on a Yamaha Warrior and a KLR 650. But
I don't care. The bike's, I'll ride anything that's got 2 wheels. I mean, honestly, I don't give a crap. It's from me, it's a far drive to take my bike, you know?
Yeah, it's quite a distance. The KLR that I rode today, I had never ridden a KLR before. I had the only dual sport bike I had ever ridden was a DRZ 400. And the KLR felt pretty gutless, which I had heard. The DRZ felt like, in my memory anyway, the DRZ in my head is lighter and like comparably powerful. So I feel like the DRZ is the better choice of the two if you want a dual sport.
It depends on what you're going to do with it, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's fine if you're close by, but to go on a long trip, I'd much rather be on the KLR with everything, all the aftermarket support. Like Sargent gave us seats for those bikes that completely transformed them. I don't know if I'd be riding a DRZ for 3,000 miles.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the KLR that I rode is outfitted. It's got the stock seat, but the stock seat felt pretty comfortable. And it's got like Pelican style, I would say, cases. They're not made by Pelican, but they're just like Pelican cases on the sides as like saddlebags. And he's got aftermarket lights.
Were they Happy Trail racks? Do you remember on there?
I don't know who his racks are made by, honestly. I could ask him.
There's just such a huge aftermarket for KLR, and like everyone and their grandmothers jumped on that bandwagon. Touratech has got a big amount of accessories available for KLRs, and then there are these smaller niche manufacturers. But
yeah, Touratech almost seems like comical, because like Touratech is definitely like the high-end manufacturer of accessories, and the people that buy KLRs are like the milk crate crowd. So
well, I think they make a Touratech milk crate. I know Aerostitch does.
Yeah, Aerostitch totally does have that stainless steel milk crate.
Right.
Like,
no, they'll actually sell you a plastic one too for like $11 or something. It's pretty funny. They call it like their tire changing stand, but it's a milk crate.
Mm-hmm.
And you take this is a testament to the type of bike a KLR is. When we took 2 guys that have never ridden bikes and stuck them on it for 2 weeks, and I told you the one story where Jeff just destroyed it. He went up a hill, and all of a sudden I heard crash, and he comes walking down, and he's got like a fender in his hand.
Yeah, and I forgot that you guys took KLRs on that trip. They were like the newer body style too, right?
They were 2000. I want to say 2008, maybe in 2010. They were the newer body styles. When did they use that? Was it an 8?
2008 was the new body style.
It's a thumper, so it didn't like spending a lot of time. Anytime we had to do like a transition section on the highway and the bike was going like 65, 70 miles an hour, it would eat a lot of oil.
Yeah,
So
I did 70 a couple times today and felt like, this is pushing it a little bit.
there was like Jeff's bike had some kind of weird anomaly with the kickstand. Like every time he got off that bike, it fell over.
Hmm.
And
I was surprised today, like the kickstand on the KLR that I was on was like put the bike at a very vertical position. I
that's what
was
this one was too. It was kind of
confused
strange.
by it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, my Bonneville, honestly, for years, the kickstand was too short, so it would lean over too far. And so maybe my brain is just calibrated to, okay, bike leans over really far when you put it on the kickstand. So when I put the KLR up, I was like, oh my goodness, this is weird.
That's probably what aggravated the hernia for me, was the fact that there was an issue with the kickstand relocation kit I had on the KTM that caused it to lean. Like there's a couple pictures on Instagram where we're in Canada, like, or the Canadian border, and you can see the five bikes there, and mine's like lean way over. So me
Yeah.
having to get on that thing and kind of kick it over, to get it upright. The funny thing was watching Jared get on his bike, on his 1190, because he's not tall enough to stand or sit on the bike and get it upright. So he would actually like put the bike upright off the kickstand, flip up the kickstand, and get up on the bike while it was balancing
Huh.
two wheels, and then take off.
Interesting. So today, um, Naval Air Station Pensacola is open to the public because there is a naval aviation museum here.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to the museum a couple times. It's actually really cool. The first time I went with some friends of mine, Greg, the guy that owns the KLR, and I went, and another friend of ours, and we honestly completely missed a whole building that this museum has. And Jess was out here last week, and we went to it, and it was like super cool, like a ton of fun. Anyway, so the museum is open to the public, which means a section of the base is open to the public. Which means there's two like entry control points. So you pull up to the gate, you show your ID, and if you're coming from a certain direction, you drive halfway across the base and then you show your ID again to get on the restricted part of the base that's not open to the public. And the KLR that I rode today was like tall enough that when I went to go pull up to the second entry point, I
Mm-hmm.
was like leaning over to one side, like, oh shit, I'm about to fall over. Hold on, wait, okay, I'm good. And then like straightened back up, and the guy was like, "Are you good?" I was like, "Yeah, it's just not. I don't usually ride this bike. I'm not used to a bike this tall."
I'm surprised you didn't pull you off of it and make you do a sobriety test.
Yeah, seriously.
So I'm looking at the aerial shot of this. This is a pretty big base, actually.
Yeah, it's decent size. Like,
Yeah.
if anybody is on the internet looking at the like satellite view of Naval Air Station Pensacola, my entire life occurs on the east end of that base. Like, I live on the east end. I go to work on the east end. I don't ever do anything on the other side, except go to my friend's house, which goes out that west side gate and goes over to
Are you
his
at the
house. And
Navy Gateway Inns and Suites?
that is exactly where I'm at.
There you go. So you're there.
Um,
I think I can actually. I think I'm looking at the map. I can see you walking around. Actually.
that's quite possible. Um, but
Uh,
yeah, there. If any of you happen to be in the Pensacola area and you're at all interested in aviation, the Navy Aviation Museum has more aircraft than the Smithsonian Museum in Washington D.C.
I didn't know that. Really?
It's intense. Like I said, my wife and I went to it. The other day. It's the second time I've been, and we still didn't see the whole thing. There's actually three different sections. So there's the main building. There's a building they call Hangar 1 that has like a little Coast Guard corner and some of the newer aircraft in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a whole section out on the flight line that's aircraft that are too big to stuff into a hangar. So they've got like some of the like Navy's larger cargo aircraft and some stuff like that out there. And that section we didn't even go to see. Um, the first time I went through the main building and thought, this is really cool. I want to bring my wife here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we left. And then Jess came out, we went, and we were like, wait a minute, what's this other building? So we drove around to the back, parked, and got out and went in what they call Hangar 1. We're like, oh my goodness, there's like a whole museum in here just by itself. Walked around there and then went to there's a lighthouse on Naval Air Station Pensacola that is I guess the tallest lighthouse on the Gulf Coast. And you can actually go all the way up to the top of it. Ton of stairs. Definitely got my workout in that day. Just going up the stairs. I've never been able to go all the way up to the top of a lighthouse. I've visited a few lighthouses, but that was the first time I was able to go up to like the top and like walk around and take pictures. It was cool.
Have you seen the Blue Angels at all?
Yeah, so they had an air show back on Veterans Day here, and I got to watch them practice because the Blue Angels are stationed here in Pensacola. They go back and forth between here and El Centro, California, depending on the time of year. So I've seen them practice a bunch. I've seen them as a kid when I watched them like perform at like air shows and stuff growing up. But I did not go to their air show on Veterans Day. I just happened to see them practicing for it. So I've seen most of their show pretty up close.
They they came down here. That was a while ago. I saw them, and man, that was really impressive. Because I've seen the Thunderbirds as well when they did the first Fort Lauderdale Air Show here. You know, they're not. I wouldn't say that any one of them was better than the other, but the Blue Angels was really very cool.
Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know the Blue Angels have been flying the F-18 since like the 80s.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was looking at like the history of their aircraft, and they do a lot of the same stunts that they did in the 40s.
Really?
Yeah, so like
a lot harder
and a lot faster.
Yeah.
Back in the 40s, they were flying, you know, some propeller-driven aircraft that was doing this like all 6 aircraft come together and do this like almost like fountain looking maneuver where they all come together and
right
disperse out
off of the top when it comes. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they still do some of the same stunts that they did like 60 years ago.
I didn't know that. That's
they just do them much faster.
All right, so listen, let's not talk about naval aviation for a second.
Okay,
because there's some sort of holidays coming up.
There's a Christmas. Wait, is it Saturnalia? Saturnalia.
Right. What I wanted to talk about was, I mean, it's kind of late for us to do a, Christmas gift guide that everybody else does.
Yeah, Jess and I talked a little bit about that yesterday, about like what we would want if we could have Christmas gifts. But yeah, it's a little late. You know, if you're buying somebody a Christmas gift, it's kind of last minute.
But, I was thinking about it. And so if you're listening and you've got a friend or a loved one that owns a motorcycle, or you wanted a Christmas gift, or even, for that matter, a birthday gift that's motorcycle related, these are some of the things that I would ask for. And for the guy that's in the cafe style bike or the vintage style bike, I think probably the best gloves I've used so far out there would be Lee Parks Designs, the Deer Tours.
I really got to try those. They keep, everybody talks about them, how good they are. I've never worn them. I want to.
It's the thing about the deerskin, and I know you can get deerskin gloves in other places. I mean, I've even seen them in Home Depot. The difference between what Lee Parks has and those is the thickness of the hide that they use and the way that they're cut. And what he offers is there's also an insulated glove. They do a long glove. I have the short non-insulated gloves in tan. And what I ended up getting was, so if you notice, sometimes when you see how gloves are made, you'll notice that they're stitched on the outside and they turn them inside out, right? So it gives you this kind of smooth look on the fingers, but then there's stitching on the inside of the glove.
Yeah, so the seams are inside and they kind of catch on your fingers.
Yeah, and he makes them both ways. He makes them with the seams on the inside and the seams on the outside. And the way he makes them with the seams on the outside is there's very few pieces of glove. There's only like, I think it's like 2 or 3 pieces that it's made from. So they're kind of like stitched on the outside, the top of the finger, not around the side,
Yeah.
and they're really, really comfortable, and they've held up so well. And the thing about deer hide is it can get wet. It doesn't dry out like cowhide does. So that would be one of my top picks for a gift, and they're reasonably priced. You know, I think the non-insulated short deer tours are probably around $80.
Okay.
And they offer them in black and in the natural, the tan color. And I got the tan ones, and they, you know, they wear pretty good. They get a little bit of a patina on them as they get dirty. The funny thing about these types of gloves, and a lot of gloves I've noticed, is as they start to get dirty and they start to wear in, they become touch screen capable, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, like they start to work better.
Yeah, it's like they almost pick up enough crap in the material in the hide where they um, really work good. So these have been my go-to gloves for a really long time. Now, one thing, can you hear that dog barking? I'm gonna kill her.
No, I
Good.
cannot.
Um,
I'm sure some eagle-eared listener can hear that, but
yeah,
I cannot.
yeah, just complain to me about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, though I think on the low end he's got deer tours for 75, and then they go up from there. And the deer sports are they're the full size gauntlet, which there's guys that actually use those to race in. You can race in those, and they make an
I,
insulated and non-insulated version of that as well.
I've heard from a ton of people that those gloves are super comfortable and really good. I think my pick for last minute holiday purchases would be like a motorcycle movie, like, and I'm not talking like Torque, that's like stupid. I'm thinking like On Any Sunday or uh Dust to Glory. Like I don't know how many times I've seen Dust to Glory. I own the DVD, but I think it's also on Netflix. And basically every time I meet somebody new that's into motorcycles, I'm like, dude, you got to watch this movie. The cinematography is great,
That's the
amazing.
glory.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's about the Baja 1000, and
This is gonna have to go on my list.
yeah, Dust to Glory is good. Like the just the shots that they get alone, like the camera work is phenomenal. And it's not just a motorcycle movie. It's a motorcycle. It's a movie about the Baja 1000, but it kind of focuses on motorcycles. Like they kind of like set the movie is a documentary, but the protagonist is definitely a motorcycle rider.
Okay.
Uh, It's a good movie. Like I said, the cinematography is fantastic, if nothing more. But
So it's
really good
all over
movie.
the place. It's 2005. You can find it. I just
Yeah,
googled it.
yeah. So
Yeah, why
if
didn't I know
you're
about
looking for like a last minute gift, like oh crap, I don't know what to get this person. They like motorcycles. On Any Sunday or Dust to Glory are great picks. They're both really good movies.
I know you're going to laugh at me for this, but I'm a big fan of Long Way Around. And if
Oh
you,
hell yeah, me
yeah,
too. I'm not laughing at all. I've read the book. I've watched the
yeah.
movies, the TV, the series, whatever.
As far as you know, other last minute gifts that are easy to, so anything that's on Amazon is really quick. You can still probably get stuff from Amazon and have it delivered by Saturday. Um, there's some decent motorcycle books out there as well. There's been a lot of them that have been written recently, and a lot of them that are older, like you know Jupiter's Travels and um, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which isn't really a motorcycle book, but one of the other good ones I really like a lot is Ghost Rider by Neil Peart. And I just
Yeah.
recently got one of Derek Mansfield's books, but you can't get them on Amazon. And I'll tell you the one I got. Um, he's really a great writer, and it's called Notes from the Road, Volume 4, which there isn't a volume 1, 2, or 3. It's just Derek decided to start with volume 4.
That's funny.
Yeah, and it's
Makes me think
really,
of the movie History of the World Part One,
yeah,
The Mel
right.
Brooks movie.
It's a small little pocketbook. You can take it with you. It's got some great stories in it. Derek's a great writer. What's really kind of cool about this book is that it kind of it's a newer, you know, printed book, but it has the feel of an old book to it. You know, it's got like the corners of it look like they're worn. Well, the really neat thing about it is that Derek, when he sends it to you, it's wrapped in paper. He wraps it like in paper and he ties it with a string and there's a wax seal on it and he writes your name on it and he signs the
Wow.
inside of it. And
That's
it's like $12, man. It's 9.99 for the USA in pounds, so whatever that comes out to.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a cool little book. It's really, really neat. That would be a nice gift too for somebody that likes to read. Um, the other thing would be for the adventure traveler in your life, I would definitely say some sort of tire repair kit or tire inflation.
Yeah. I found a like self-contained in a little green plastic case tire repair kit that has everything you need to patch a a tire for super cheap at AutoZone right before I drove across the country. When I moved out here to Pensacola, I had a flat tire like the day before I left in my truck, and I happened to have a tire repair kit from my motorcycle trips, so I plugged it real quick and was on my way. Uh, but it kind of like brought to my attention how old and dry my little tire repair kit was, and it wasn't
So
really
the strings you're saying were old and dry, or everything in it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the strings were like not even sticky anymore.
right. And the thing about tire repair kit is if you're on a budget, you can find anything in any price range from, if, like you said, a few bucks. You go to like an AutoZone or something, and they've usually got like the, the tool kit with some strings for like $8. And then on the
Yeah.
high end, you get something from, which is what I carry, the Best Rest product one, which is like $30, but it comes in a tube and it's got patches and it's got the industrial strings with the Kevlar in them that are the only real ones that like the truckers use. And it's
Oh,
got a burnishing tool in it. I mean, it's a really nice kit for travel, and we used them a lot. Plus, they come with valve cores too, as well.
I'm I'm now interested in looking at that kit. I've got a few products from Best Rest. I've got the
Cycle
bead
pump,
breaker
yeah.
and the cycle pump.
Those are all great gifts for somebody that you don't have to go all out and buy the whole thing. But if let's say you wanted to spend $100, go out and get the cycle pump. It's guaranteed for life. The person will never have to worry about buying another one, and it's makes for a great gift. If you have a limited budget, the tire repair kit, is the way
Yeah,
to
I
go.
mean the cycle pump is what I used to blow my truck tire back up once I put the plug in it. Like I plugged my cycle pump into the cigarette lighter and pumped my tire back up.
Yeah, it's a great product. There's other, again, if you're on a budget, there's other products out there, other types of pumps and everything. The reason why I like the one that Best Rest makes is because it's guaranteed for life. And
Right. And it's proven to be really durable. I mean, the British, I think it's like the British SAS or something crazy, like uses them as part of their like field repair kits for the vehicles they drive around.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they no kidding, like the cycle pump is used by a couple of like foreign militaries and has been like driven over by trucks and still works. Um it's pretty tough kit.
They actually have a sale going on too. So if you I don't know if we get this show out, if you get it out quick enough, but
Yeah.
they're doing a $20 stocking stuffers, $20 off many of their items, and a 20% discount on a lot of their items, and there's free shipping. But the cycle pump's a great thing. There's a lot of other stuff that they've got on there. Like I said, again, if you're on a budget. And then also too, base layers make a good gift for people. It's not something that I think people usually buy for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been running a decent amount lately,
Mhm.
and like having a base layer has been a big deal. Like it's been in the 50s and the 40s while I've been running, and having a base layer has kind of made the difference between being able to run or not being able to run. And on the bike, like, today if I was like going back and forth, like do I wear my cold weather like base layer or not? Um and it was definitely like it was great to be like, okay, to think that I have this thing in case I need it.
It's not just for cold weather too. Base layers are great for hot weather. Everyone's
Yeah,
now,
they help whip the moisture away and help your body like cool effectively.
they've got flat seams. You're not dealing with something like if you're wearing, let's say, briefs for underwear that they're going to ride up on you or cut off circulation, a decent set of base layers will make the difference for the ride, especially if it's
Yeah.
like something that's designed for hot weather. So that's another thing. And you can get, again, for with base layers, there's the price range is all out there, but typically I've seen, the shirts for about $30 and the pants for maybe 30 or $40. And then you can get them in short sleeve or long sleeve. The pants, you can get them either long or, like the bicycle style. So you've got a bunch of different options for that as well.
Yeah.
Um, I think also, like we talked about books, we talked about movies, gloves, tire repair stuff. Let me think. What else? I would say probably a decent hat too to have to keep on the bike. And Moto Skivvies makes a folding hat, which is kind of
That hat is great. They made the one that Senna gave out
yeah,
during the AIM Expo a couple years ago,
yeah.
and I have the Moto Skivvies one somewhere and the Senna one. And my wife sent me a picture the other day. Like, she sent me a picture of herself, like, getting ready to go run, and she was in the Senna hat. Like, that hat is fantastic. The brim has two folds in it so that it just folds up right into your pocket. Um,
You can stick it
it'll
right in
fit
your back pocket. It's completely unobtrusive. Yeah,
it'll fit anywhere. And then when you're done, like, I get off the bike. I rode the bike today. I got off the bike. I had stupid helmet hair, like it was crazy looking.
right.
And if I gave a crap about who saw me, I could just put the hat on and ta-da, I look great.
Yeah, and it's
I look
smart enough
acceptable.
that you can stick it in a pocket, like the inner pocket of like a ventilated jacket, without it. You get like a regular baseball cap with a big brim on it, or any other thing. It's kind of hard to store on the bike. But the Moto Skivvies hat, and like you said, now they're branding them for a lot of people. So there's a lot of people out there. If you just Google folding motorcycle hat, you probably see a ton of them, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it's almost got like two hinges in it where it's made to fold, but then as soon as you put it on your head keeps it in the place that you'd want a brim to sit curved and looks nice. I got to give it to Sean
I'm gonna look and
on
see
that hat. Like,
while we're
Sean
talking.
Lupko at Moto Skivvies did a good had a good thought with that hat for sure.
It's great. It's absolutely great. So I think what else do you know of that is a like kind of a budget item, not really expensive, that would be a great gift?
Let's see. We
Branding
talked about
company,
tired
big
repair kit.
motorcycle.
Did you say rain gear?
Yeah, okay.
Rain
Now,
gear is
now
really
we're
tough.
gonna we're gonna kind of differ on this because so I used to carry frog togs around a
Yeah,
lot.
absolutely. Yeah.
They're inexpensive. They're breathable. You see them a lot. The cruiser riders wear them a lot. Um, I've gotten away from having separate rain gear or separate rain liners, and I've gone both routes. And this is a real personal choice. And I've also noticed some of the manufacturers are changing the way they do things. So let me just kind of outline the way I feel about this and how the gear works. So if you take your typical motorcycle jacket that comes with a zip-in rain liner and a zip-in thermal liner, right?
Yeah.
What happens is, for those of you who've never used anything like this before, listen up. And if you have, you're going to sympathize with me, especially in a place like Florida where it goes from pouring down, downpour, drenching to blazing hot in 5 minutes. What happens in situations like that is that the outer jacket gets wet. You stay relatively dry, not completely dry because they're not perfect, but relatively dry when that rain liner zipped in. So let's say you're driving down the road and it's a great sunny day and it's hot out and you got your ventilated jacket on and it looks like it's going to downpour. Now you got to stop someplace and zip in this liner.
Yep.
So it requires you to find some shelter to even if it starts raining, you get off your bike, take off the jacket, take off your pants, zip the rain liner in, or just put it on and then put the other stuff on over it. Now you start riding. Now you're pretty dry, but the jacket gets soaked and saturated with
Yeah,
water.
the outer shell of what you're wearing is suddenly soaked with water.
And I mean heavy soaked with
Yeah,
water.
and if your gloves, for instance, if you have decided to put your gauntlet gloves on the outside of your jacket, then your jacket is running water into your gloves, even if your gloves are waterproof, which means your hands are getting wet, even though your hands are in waterproof gloves.
Right.
And that's from experience, like riding across Idaho and Oregon. Like I was in rain the whole time, and I was sitting here thinking, like, why are my hands getting soaking wet? I'm in waterproof gloves.
That's running right down your jacket. Right.
Yep, it was coming from my elbow right down my wrist into my gloves, and I was like, ah. And once I figured it out, I felt so stupid.
The other issue too is typically that the thermal liners that they include with these things are not, space age material. They're not polar fleece. They're usually quilted. And to get
Yeah.
thermal protection, they've got to be thicker. So now you're like the Michelin man.
Oh yeah, you're like that kid in what's the name? The Christmas
Yeah,
Christmas
Christmas
movie where
Story.
he's like,
Ralphie, man. Ralphie's wearing,
yeah.
like his little brother, Randy,
Yeah,
sticking
you can't put your arms down. You're like,
the idiot glove on. Right. And a lot of these jackets too, the thermal liner actually zips into the rain liner. So you have to have the rain liner in to get the thermal liner in. Now, these are, again, at a lower price point. Maybe you're looking at a $300 jacket with the rain liner and the thermal liner. And the same thing with the pants. Now, I've noticed some of the manufacturers have gotten smart, and they're now making the rain liner that fits over the jacket. So you don't got to pull the jacket off. You throw the rain liner over. Olympia is doing that. Macna does it. There's a few companies now that are including a rain liner that goes over. Again, it's still not
that sounds good. That sounds better than
better.
What we've
A
been
lot
dealing with.
You don't have to take. Well, I mean, that's the same thing a set of frog togs would do.
Sure.
You just, and that's $40. So I started, the first time I used gear that was Gore-Tex, a shell, was Aerostitch. Aerostitch Darien jacket and pants. And I'm going to tell you, that is completely transforms you, because the jacket and the pants are inherently waterproof. They have a durable water repellent on them. They're seam sealed and stitched, and they have a Gore-Tex liner, so they breathe. And the Darien stuff, the Aerostitch stuff, has got big giant vents in it. Same thing with Klein Badlands. That's what I'm wearing now, is a Klein Badlands. Decent sized venting in it, but it's always waterproof. You're always wearing a waterproof jacket. And in the summertime, I don't wear anything underneath it except some sort of a base layer. So I don't carry rain gear with me. There's no need to have any rain gear. That is my rain gear. If it gets really bad, I just zip it up, and that's it, and I'm good to go. And then when you need to add layers, base layers, you buy whatever you need. So for me, living in Florida, never having to really worry about super cold stuff, I just go and I get like a number 1 or a number 2 base layer from somebody, like a Polar Fleece 100 or 200, and that's going to work perfectly fine. You're going to go out and you're going to spend a lot more money, though, for Gore-Tex. There's just no doubt about it. It's performance gear. It breathes. It's going to probably last longer if you take care of it. But for me, that's been my big pet peeve. And I can tell you, from wearing stuff that was not water repellent or not durable waterproof, was like absolutely horrible. You would just get wet, and then go to put it on. You take the rain liner off, go to put it on, and now all of a sudden your skin is wet, and it might be cold because all that water's coming off of it. But I don't know how you feel about it, Crash.
Yeah, I when I lived in Washington, I bought a certain set of Revit gear, and I didn't know at the time any difference between something that simply had Gore-Tex in it and had Gore-Tex bonded to the outer layer, where like the vents vented directly to you instead of venting directly to the outer layer. So my experience was the gear that I had like many layers, and one of those layers happened to be Gore-Tex. So in the rain, my body was dry, but my jacket got super heavy and soaked with rain and filled with water. And when I was in a really hot climate, when I would open my vents, the vents didn't vent directly to me. They vented directly to the Gore-Tex layer, so it didn't really cool me as quickly as it should.
Right.
Going forward, I would definitely want a jacket that when I opened a vent, it vented directly to my body or whatever base layer I had. And in where the Gore-Tex was laminated into that first layer, so that I didn't have like basically like bags of water to fill up.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with gloves that are that, like, I've worn gloves that had a Gore-Tex liner in them, and they pulled out right away. You know, the liners pulled out, and then they're a pain in the ass to get back in. But the gloves that had Gore-Tex bonded into the glove is much different. What I'm using now, because I don't like switching gloves around, is I bought a set of they're called Forecast by Climb. They kind of look like the lobster claw, like they almost look like ski or snowboarding mitts, but they're Gore-Tex. They're a little pricey. They're about 160 bucks, but they work great. And I've driven and used them here in Florida in driving rain. You can roll them up and put them in your jacket pockets. You can get them on relatively quick, and they have a really ingenious pull on them that works both ways. So you pull one end of it, it pulls it tight. Pull the other end of it, it opens up. You only need one hand.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, they're a big gauntlet, so they'll slip over your glove and they'll slip over the jacket, and they're designed so that when you pull that thing, you don't really get a lot of water in them. And then they've got elastic on the inside. So that's kind of what I carry. That's my go-to thing. And that was Spencer turned me on to that. You know, I was
for
gloves. Yeah.
when I first went to college, I wore a pair. I rode my bicycle to work pretty regularly, and I lived in Virginia, so I got similar rain situation to what we have here in Florida, where throughout the summer it's gonna rain whenever it feels like, and you're not gonna really see it coming. And I wore these lobster claw gloves that I absolutely loved them, and I've worn them as a like on the motorcycle a few times. They're really nice.
I've got, snowboarding gloves that I thought about wearing with the liners pulled out when I first started riding. And then, mostly what I was wearing down here was like some flavor of a ventilated, kind of a motocross type glove with some light armor on it.
Yeah.
A couple times I had bought road racing gloves and more of those, and they're just too big and not super comfortable. I don't need all that gauntlet with all that armor on it. But
yeah, I'm not doing that kind of riding either.
No, that's why I like the Lee Parks gloves, because he's got, when Lee goes to a show and has a booth, he's got gloves out there where people have gotten, had get offs at like 80 miles an hour and slid down the road, and the gloves are still intact. So it makes a good product.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's all I got, man. It's getting a little late.
Right? We have some actual giveaway. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some shirts that I've got a Dime City Cycle shirt. I've got a Pop Over America, Joe Pop, our buddy that's been riding around the U.S. filming a documentary, and I've got one other shirt, and I'm not 100% sure what it is. But how do you want to give these things away? What do you want to do?
How about we've got, so you have 3?
And the Nikon lens cap, the 52 millimeter Nikon lens cap.
So
this lens cap is probably about $20. So if you got a Nikon, yeah.
How about for the Nikon, just send us an email at feedback@caferacerpodcast.com.
I'm gonna send you this.
The Nikon lens cap, just let us know.
Yeah.
I think that somebody on Facebook, somebody on Instagram, and maybe a Patreon. That sound good?
No, wait, say it again.
Like a Facebook, Instagram, and a Patreon. So somebody like comments on, we're going to post that this episode is up on Facebook and Instagram. And then anybody that's a Patreon subscriber, just shoot us a message and we'll.
Okay. First Patreon subscriber gets a shirt, and we're going to do it on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah, we'll do like a random giveaway on Facebook.
Okay, and I'll mail them out to you. You're not going to get them by Christmas, so forget that.
Nope. Not going to happen.
Right. Not going to happen. Too much going
3 days to Christmas. Just count that out.
So for all you guys out there, have a great holiday. Thank you for supporting us till our 100th episode. This is
it's a huge thing. I'm kind of surprised. Like, I honestly, when I started this show 5 years ago, I never had any idea that 5 years from now I would still be doing a show. I never imagined that I'd have a co-host. I never imagined that I'd have a wife that was like on the show regularly. Like, it's just totally changed from what I thought the show was going to be, and I love it. I'm really happy.
We like doing this, and the thing is, sometimes we're not super consistent about when we get the shows out, but the truth is we both have lives,
we do,
and families and careers, and stuff happens. So, and sometimes, you and I have talked that we'd rather be riding than recording. And there's been times when we've had a free weekend and we were both doing a trip or something, or out on the bike. But for the new year, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. If you guys, we appreciate every comment and suggestion you send us. We appreciate those people who support us on Patreon. If you like the show, give us a review on iTunes. If you don't like it, give us a review on iTunes. Send us some feedback at Cafe Racer Podcast, some emails about what you'd like to see in the upcoming year for the new year. We'll try.
Absolutely. I mean, I may not necessarily reply to every email that gets sent to crash@caferacerpodcast.com, but I do read them all. Oddly enough, that email address gets a lot of spam, and Gmail is like, hey man, this email contained a virus. Do you want to delete it? So I do that a lot. But if you send me a real email, I will read it. I promise.
Yeah, there's a couple of you. There's a couple of you out there that I owe responses to that sent me emails, and I promise you I'll get to them. My real job has had me going crazy writing a huge grant for millions of dollars, so that took up a lot of my time. Next show, I want to talk about some really cool motorcycle socks that a friend of mine turned me on to that I like a lot. And
I'm interested in that. I want to know about these socks. I
I'll
like socks.
tell you about it the next show. These are really, really cool, and they're super comfortable.
Having been in the Navy for 10 and a half years, I take Motrin and I change my socks. That's what I do. That's how I fix all problems.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because socks can change your trip. If you got crappy socks, man, it's not going to be good. And that's it, man. I got nothing else. How about you?
I have nothing else to say. Thank you all so much for supporting us and listening to us for 100 episodes. And seriously, get out there and ride. I finally got out and rode for like the first time in 2 months. So you can do it. I believe you. I believe in you.
Listen to Crash. Get out there and ride. And see ya.
See ya.